Good afternoon, CMS families. Thank you for joining us for today's special Teen Health Connection Tuesday Lunch and Learn. Today we'll be focusing on supporting your teen's behavioral health with Teen Health Connections and our fabulous presenter, Miss Chris Hawkins. Please take a moment to sign in to today's Family Academy session. The sign-in link is displayed on the screen, and it is also included within the Q&A. On the next slide, we'll be going over translation supports. If you need translations today, please select Captions in the top right-hand corner of your screen. From there, please select Show Live Captions, and then select your spoken language from the drop-down. Once again, at the top right-hand corner, please select Captions. From there, you can select Show Live Captions. And from the drop-down, please select the language of your choosing. And we are excited to engage with you today. If you have any questions or wonderings on today's call, please use the Q&A feature to submit those questions. We will be monitoring the Q&A during the call and have time to answer at the end of the session. So once again, if you have any questions, please feel free to add those within the Q&A. And share your learning using the React feature with us today. If you have any wow or aha moments, please feel free to send a thumbs up or a wow face. We're always so excited to hear when that learning connects with you, so that we know that the session is meeting your needs as a family. And at this time, I am excited to turn it over to our fabulous presenter, Miss Chris Hawkins from Teen Health Connections.
Thanks so much, Molly. Hi, everyone, and welcome. I'm so glad you're here for supporting your teen's behavioral health. My goal for the next hour is simple: to leave you feeling hopeful and equipped. Parenting a teenager isn't about perfection. It's about presence and progress. We're going to talk about practical, real-life ways to support your teen's mental and emotional health while also taking care of yourself. When we say behavioral health, we mean the whole picture: emotions, coping, relationships, and the everyday choices that shape a teen's future. We'll cover parenting approaches, how our own stories affect our parenting, what really helps teens thrive, and how to respond if you're worried. This isn't about adding guilt, it's about adding tools and perspective. At Teen Health Connection, we're proud to partner with the Mecklenburg County ABC Board, whose generous grant funding helps us deliver impactful programs for both teens and parents. Through their Community Health and Wellness Grant Program, they fund initiatives that empower families, reduce risk factors, and strengthen protective factors for youth and parents across Mecklenburg County. We're deeply grateful for their commitment to community wellness and prevention. Teen Health Connection is a comprehensive adolescent medicine and behavioral health practice serving teens and families across the Charlotte community, as well as Mecklenburg County. We function as a full-service pediatric office, providing routine care such as well visits, annual physicals, and treatment for common illnesses like cough, colds, and flu. In addition, our team specializes in addressing complex adolescent health concerns, including reproductive health, substance use, mental health, and identity development. Our team includes 11 highly skilled behavioral health therapists who specialize in treating the emotional and mental health challenges most relevant to teens today. They provide individualized support to help adolescents navigate issues such as anxiety, depression, trauma, identity development, and social pressures. Through evidence-based approaches and compassionate care, our therapists empower teens to build resilience and thrive during this critical stage of development. At Teen Health Connection, we're programs with purpose designed to empower. So Teen Health Connection offers leadership development through our Teen Advisory Board, a program designed for high school students in grades 9 to 12 who are passionate about making a difference. These teens meet weekly throughout the school year with like-minded peers, commit to being alcohol, tobacco, and other drug-free, and advocate for platforms such as substance use prevention, mental health awareness, and other issues impacting youth today. If anyone's interested in that program, they feel free to reach out to me at kris.hawkins@teenhealthconnection.org, and we will make sure you get that email address. So don't panic. Equally important is our commitment to supporting parents, because we know that if we want our teens to be happy, safe, and successful, we have to equip parents with the tools and resources they need during the challenging journey of raising adolescents. Thankfully, our funders recognize and invest in this dual impact approach. Now let's dive into our topic. I came to Teen Health Connection when my now 25-year-old was 17. At the time, our family had been through a lot. My brother, who passed away from a fentanyl overdose 2 years ago, struggled with addiction since he was 14. And while my husband is 9 years sober now, there was a 10-year stretch where we were just barely hanging on. We were doing the best we could. During that time, I was parenting from fear. Fear of what could happen, fear of losing control, fear of repeating patterns. And I've learned fear-based parenting doesn't work. Just like anything we do from fear doesn't work. It disconnects us from our teens and from ourselves. That's why I'm really passionate about this work, because when we shift from fear to connection, from control to guidance, we create space for healing, growth, and trust for our teens and for us. As we move through this training, I invite you to reflect on your own story. What shaped your parenting? What are you holding on to? And what might you be ready to let go of? Before jumping into strategies and tools, let's begin with something foundational. Parents, you matter. Even when teens seem distant or dismissive, your presence, your values, and your care still shape their world. Research consistently shows that parental warmth, clear expectations, and active involvement are among the strongest protective factors against depression, anxiety, substance use, and risky behaviors. Remember, this isn't about being perfect. It's about being present. It's about your presence. Your teen may roll their eyes or push back, but they're still watching, listening, and learning from how you show up. Starting here reminds us that no strategy works in isolation. It works best when rooted in a strong, supportive relationship. Parenting style is one of the strongest predictors of teen well-being. Most parents use a mix of approaches depending on the situation, but we tend to lean more heavily into one style over time. Let's look at the three broad styles. Authoritarian, or the dictator. This parenting style is represented by high control and low warmth. Rules are rigid and obedience is expected. There's little room for negotiation or discussion. Teens in authoritarian homes may follow rules short term, but research shows they're more likely to rebel or engage in risky behaviors over time, especially when they feel unheard or disconnected. Permissive parent, that's the affectionate name for that one would be the softie. That parent is represented by high warmth, low boundaries. Parents are very nurturing and responsive to a teen's feelings and very accepting, but they may struggle to enforce limits. Teens may feel loved, but also uncertain about expectations or consequences. And then we have the authoritative parent. That is the guide. And this parenting type is really represented. It's really the sweet spot between the two, the authoritarian and the permissive style. So this parent is actually able to set limits, but they set them very lovingly. So they show up for their teen and they set loving limits. They're consistent with those limits, but they are respectful and loving in the way they communicate with their teen. So, what is your parenting style? Let's take a moment to reflect. No judgment, just curiosity. Most of us, wait, sorry guys. I work this isn't like, okay. Um, okay, sorry about that. Reflect and reset. So let's take a breath and reflect. I need to take a breath too. Parenting isn't about perfection, it's about progress. So ask yourself, what's one small shift you could make toward a more balanced, connected style? Maybe it's pausing to really hear your teen out before offering advice, following through kindly but firmly on a boundary that's been slipping, like curfew or screen time, asking for your teen's input before making a decision that affects them, like maybe weekend plans or friend rules, explaining your why, not just because I said so, but helping them understand your reasoning, softening your tone when you're frustrated, carving out 10 phone free minutes just to connect. These tiny moves matter. They build trust, safety, and influence. And over time, they help your teen feel both loved and guided. This is a moment to reset, not to judge yourself. We all use elements of different parenting styles at different times. What matters most is noticing, adjusting, and showing up with intention. I would like to briefly mention adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs, as it's commonly called. These are stressful or traumatic events that a person experiences before the age of 18. Um, just remember that as you think about how you were parented and your story, certainly, if you experienced stress as a teen, maybe, like for example, I had a father whose father was an alcoholic. And my father, while he didn't drink, he was a rageaholic. So I was a very sensitive type. I came into the world that way. And so his personality type really impacted me. And I know my dad loved me, but it was definitely a traumatic experience when he would become really upset. So just consider your parenting, how you were parented, and how it really might impact your story. Oh, sorry. Um, so let's talk about something that can be triggering for many of us. Let's look back then at how we were parented in order to parent forward. If you do this fully aware, thoughtfully, and reflectively, it takes courage. Um, Trauma shapes perception. A parent who grew up in chaos may overreact to minor disruptions, maybe seeing them as threats. And unhealed wounds influence reactions. If a parent was never allowed to express emotions, they might unintentionally shut down their children's feelings. I want to share something personal here. So, as I mentioned, my father was a rageaholic. Growing up, I told myself I would never parent like that. I believed that I could parent without reacting, but I found out pretty quickly that I was wrong. Not because I didn't love my kids, but because I hadn't yet faced how deeply my own experiences shaped my responses. We often parent as we were parented, or at the very least, we have to face how we were parented and make a conscious decision to break the cycle. Not everyone has significant trauma, but everyone has had a negative experience with a parent or caregiver. It's impossible not to. And those experiences live in us until we choose to look at them. This isn't about blame, but it's about awareness. It's about choosing growth over guilt and healing over hiding. And it's never too late to start. Give me a thumbs up if, like me, you thought it was going to be easy to break the cycle of overreacting. Or if overreacting isn't your thing, fill in the blank with what you thought would be easy to overcome. Survival strategies become parenting habits. So, coping mechanisms like emotional withdrawal, hyper control, or people pleasing can be passed down without realizing it. The key is awareness. Trauma isn't just about what happened, it's also about what was missing, like safety, validation, or emotional presence. Exploring your emotional history helps you. When we recognize patterns, we can respond more intentionally, which leads to breaking those unhealthy or unhelpful cycles. Remember, this isn't about guilt, it's about growth. Recognizing how trauma shows up in parenting is an act of love. It's the first step to healing for both parent and child. If you recognize triggers or unhealed wounds, know that you're not alone. Working on yourself is one of the best gifts you can give your child. Repair and growth are possible at any stage. Let's take a moment to pause, and I'll give you about 30 seconds to reflect quietly. You don't need to share with anyone. This, of course, is just for you. Think about your own upbringing. What shaped your reactions as a parent or caregiver? What do you want to carry forward? And what might you want to do differently? Those are just some things to think about. Thank you for taking that moment to reflect. It's not always easy to look inward, but it is one of the most powerful things that we can do as parents. Now let's shift our focus outward to our teens. Understanding what's happening in their brains can help us respond with more empathy and less frustration. Because just like we're shaped by our past, they're being shaped by their present, and their brains are still very much under construction. Now that we've looked at ourselves, we'll shift focus to understanding their brains, the pressures they face, and what helps them thrive. First, let's talk about the adolescent brain. The limbic system, the emotional center, is fully online by puberty. But the prefrontal cortex, you can see there with the arrow pointing to the front of the brain, that is the area which handles judgment, impulse control, and planning. That area doesn't mature fully until the mid 20s. and some experts would say closer to 30s for boys. I can vouch for that since I have two boys myself, 20 and 25 now. That's why emotions can run high and decision making can be uneven. Teens often react impulsively or struggle to regulate their emotions, not because they're trying to be difficult, but because their brains are still under construction. Add to that the pressures of school, sports, friendships, social media, and identity exploration. Teens are navigating big questions like who am I and where do I belong? While their bodies and brains are in hormonal chaos. Understanding this helps us respond with empathy and patience rather than frustration or punishment. It's not about excusing their behavior, it's about recognizing what's developmentally normal and supporting them through it. I want to pause here and let this quote sink in. They're not giving you a hard time, they're having a hard time. That's a quote by Dr. Stuart Shanker. It's one of my favorites because it reframes how we see our teens' behavior. When we understand that their brains are still developing and that they're often reacting from emotion rather than logic, we can shift from asking, "What's wrong with you?" to "What's going on for you?" This shift from judgment to curiosity, from frustration to empathy, is what helps us build connection with our teen and guide them through tough moments. It doesn't mean that we don't set boundaries or hold them accountable. It means we do it with compassion, knowing they're still learning how to manage their emotions and make decisions. Now that we've explored the challenges teens face, let's talk about what protects them. Protective factors are the things that buffer against stress, reduce risk, and promote well being. They're like armor, especially when life gets hard. These can exist at multiple levels within the person, the family, the community, and society as a whole. And while we can't control every risk our teens face, we can strengthen protection every day. Some of the most powerful protective factors include at least one safe, supportive adult relationship, a sense of belonging at home, at school, or in extracurricular activities, predictable routines that create stability, healthy lifestyle habits like sleep, nutrition, and movement, positive peer influences, and friendships. When we focus on building these, we're not just reacting to problems, we're proactively supporting resilience. Let's spend a few minutes on the foundational habits that support mental wellness: movement, sleep, nutrition, and technology use. But before we dive in, here's an important reminder. And I'm going to say this a lot because repetition is a really good thing for us and for our teens. I know for me, no matter how many times I tell myself we're not chasing perfection, I still find myself holding myself to these unrealistic standards. So it's really helpful to have friends we can connect with. Now you have a parenting support and resource in me and Teen Health Connection to just remind you of that we're not chasing perfection. There is no such thing as a perfect parent. We're aiming for balance. Parenting isn't about control, it's about influence. Our role is to guide, support, and model healthy habits, not to micromanage every choice. In fact, if we try to control our teens, that's when we lose them, um, because teens do need a sense of power and control. That's why it's best for us to walk beside them and guide them. What's most important is a really strong, positive relationship with our teens. That is actually the very foundation, because if you don't have a strong relationship, or if you're struggling with communication with your teen, then when they experience difficulties, they're more likely to seek out someone else's um, maybe advice or support, rather than coming to you if they don't feel connected. So that really is our goal. Remember, is that strong, healthy relationship with our teen. So the goal is to help your teen build skills for lifelong well-being while staying realistic and kind to them and to yourself. Progress over perfection. And I love this one, grace over guilt. First, sleep. Teens biologically start producing melatonin, which is their sleep hormone, later than we do, than adults. It's often around 1 a.m. versus a typical adult releases their sleep hormone around 10 p.m. That's why just go to bed earlier rarely works. I always wondered why, my boys wanted to stay up late and then sleep late. But Dr. Megan Sutsko, she's a psychologist who works with me, and she actually helped me create this training. She was the one that said that shared this information with me. She says aim for 8 to 10 hours on average, but no, weekday demands can make that hard. The hopeful part is catching up on sleep over weekends and breaks can help restore mood, attention, and emotional regulation. You can support better sleep by creating a family charging station, maybe in the kitchen for devices, dimming lights in the evening, and getting bright sunlight exposure in the morning. These small changes can make a big difference. And remember, you're modeling, not enforcing, military sleep schedules. Flexibility is important. Be as consistent as possible, but remember, catching up on sleep is a good thing. Okay, let's talk about nutrition, not in terms of perfect diets, but in terms of balance and access. This isn't about shaming teens or ourselves for having pizza and fries. It's more about making sure healthy options are available and encouraged. Simple shifts can make a big difference. Fruits, protein, whole grains, and water. These are healthy choices. Um, just make those healthy choices available. Encourage breakfast and protein rich snacks to help stabilize mood and energy. And don't underestimate the power of family meals. Even if they're brief or imperfect, they offer both nourishment and connection. In fact, regular family meals are one of the strongest protective factors against depression and risky behaviors. And that isn't family meals 7 nights a week. It really can be including a family meal 2 or 3 times a week. So, again, it's not about perfection, it's about consistency, connection, and modeling balance. Let's talk about 2 everyday habits that can have a big impact on mental health. Movement and technology use. First, movement. It's a natural antidepressant and anxiety reducer. But this isn't about hour-long workouts or gym memberships. Think of it as movement snacks. Short bursts of activity like a walk after dinner, dancing while cleaning, yard games, or sports if they enjoy them. Normalize movement as a tool for stress relief, but don't make it punishment. Now, tech. Overuse is common, and yes, even for us adults, and sometimes most importantly for us adults. I think we need to recognize what we're modeling. The goal isn't zero screen time, but healthy boundaries. Try things like no phones in bedrooms at night, tech-free meals, and a family-wide wind-down hour in the evening, or maybe even a couple evenings a week. And remember, modeling matters. Your teen notices what you do way more than what you say. Give me a thumbs up if, like me, you feel guilty about not making time to cook more or spending too much time on technology. Okay, recognizing when your teen is struggling. Let's talk about how to tell the difference between typical teen ups and downs and signs that something more serious might be going on. Mood swings, sleeping in on weekends, and wanting a little privacy, these are all normal parts of adolescence. But when changes are persistent, intense, or when they interfere with daily life, they may be warning signs. Watch for things like withdrawal from friends or activities, hopeless talk, extreme irritability, their grades dropping, big shifts in sleep or appetite, self-harm behaviors, or substance use. And remember, if these signs last more than 2 weeks, or if you feel in your gut that something's off, trust that instinct. You don't have to have all the answers to take the first step towards support. Practical ways to check in with your teen. Um, we want to check in with our teen in ways that invite real conversation. Instead of asking, "Are you okay?" That often gets a one-word answer, right? We want to try open-ended questions like, "What's felt heavy for you this week?" Or, "What's something you're proud of today?" I'm sure you guys can think of even better open-ended questions, but these kinds of questions give teens permission to go beyond fine and share what's really going on with them. And if they don't open up right away, that's okay. What matters most is your consistent presence. That's what builds trust and shows them you care. One friend told me that she started taking a walk with her teen, like on every Sunday evening. And at first they just walked along quietly. And as the Sundays kind of progressed, then they really her teen started really opening up, and it became a really important time for them, and they looked forward to it. In fact, if the mom would say, "Hey, you want to talk about so and so," the teen would say, "How about we wait till our Sunday walk?" Try these open-ended check-ins, and see if this invites more conversation with your teen. And don't give up right away. Keep being present with them, and keep trying to start those conversations with them, even if it feels awkward, because the more you do it, the less awkward it will feel. Also, be the expert, even when it's uncomfortable. Your teen needs that. They need you to be the expert, not just on curfews and grades, but on the hard stuff: healthy sexuality, substance use, peer pressure, and relationships. Even if they act like they don't want to hear it, they're watching and listening. Yes, it might feel awkward at first, but it is your responsibility to practice saying all the words, even the ones that make you uncomfortable. You know the words I'm talking about. And if you don't get familiar with if you're not familiar with common teen slang, I can't say it, guys. I'm sorry. If get familiar with common teen slang, that's what I was basically trying to say. Sometimes they have these, the things that you hear them say, but you don't really know what they mean. We really do want to know what those things mean. Um, these important conversations need to be had by you and your teen, not just between TikTok and them, or between their friends and them. It's more important than ever as many teens turn to AI to answer their questions. Um, for you to be the one that answers their questions, because AI, it is very possible that AI will give them maybe even a harmful response. When you speak openly and calmly, you send a powerful message. I'm a safe place and I can handle the hard stuff. You always want to let your teen know that they can count on you. Remember, it's not about being perfect, it's about being present and informed and willing to keep the conversation going. Connection isn't just nice, it's protective. Teens who feel securely connected to a parent or caregiver are less likely to develop depression, anxiety, or engage in high risk behaviors. But connection doesn't mean saying yes to everything. It means being a safe, responsive base for your teen. A practical habit: weekly one on one time with them. Just 15 to 20 minutes doing what they choose: a Starbucks run, shooting hoops, baking something, or even scrolling memes together and laughing. My youngest son and I do that all the time. It's really not about interrogation, or lecturing. We want to remember it's really about listening, about being quiet, hearing what they have to say. And this simple ritual can lower risk factors dramatically. Listening skills that build trust. When your teen opens up, try using a 3-step approach. You want to listen, validate, and then guide, but only if they're open to it. Start by listening quietly. Don't interrupt or jump in. Just let them finish. Often, I think we're unaware that we are pretending to listen and we're scrolling our email or text. Um, if we ask our teen a question, we need to be fully present with them, making the eye contact, really showing them we're engaged. Validate their feelings. This helps them feel heard and understood. You might say to them, "That sounds really tough," or "I can see why you're upset." Before offering advice or trying to fix things, pause and ask, "Do you want me to help you figure this out? Or do you just want to vent right now?" This simple question helps you meet them where they are. It shows respect for their emotional space and avoids pushing them into problem solving mode before they're ready. If they're open to guidance, you can say something like, "Want to brainstorm some solutions together?" Or, "I have an idea, want to hear it?" But jumping straight to solutions can make them feel dismissed or overwhelmed. Your first job is to help them feel seen. Solutions come second if they want them. Conflict is inevitable. What matters most is repair. Teens learn emotional regulation by watching us apologize and reset. After a blow up, you can say, I'm really sorry I yelled. I care about you and want to start fresh. Repair strengthens connection and models healthy relationship skills by showing that you take responsibility when you make a mistake or overreact. This teaches them that you have the same expectations for yourself as you have for them. And it also shows them that everybody makes mistakes. So apologizing to our teen, that's a that's a really healthy thing to do, and also invites more conversation. Take a quick pause and think, what's one thing you could try this week? Maybe 10 minutes of undivided attention. Maybe it's a more validating response when emotions are running high. Or maybe it's actually not responding or not reacting when emotions run high. Tiny, doable shifts build trust over time. Connection plus boundaries equals safer choices. So once that connection is in place, we can set and hold boundaries that actually stick. Next, let's look at prevention and safety planning, how to reduce risk while keeping the relationship strong. When we think about preventing risky behaviors like substance use, unsafe driving, or sexual risk, research repeatedly points to three pillars: bonding, boundaries, and monitoring. Bonding is that connection we've talked about. Teens who feel valued and close to their parents or caregivers are less likely to experiment with risky behaviors early or recklessly. Boundaries, these are clear, reasonable expectations. So, curfews, safety agreements, family rules around substances and driving, that's really important. But remember, the boundaries and the limits are going to, you know, are going to become less restrictive the older they get. So, as middle schoolers, there'll be more boundaries, and as high schoolers, there'll be fewer because you want to give them lots of opportunities to make mistakes while they're affordable. Um, remember, once they're in high school, four short years, and they'll be in college or out on their own, making these really important decisions themselves. So we want to give them lots of practice, um, before they're making those decisions alone. And finally, monitoring. Simply knowing the who, what, where, and when of your teen's world. Know who they're with. Um, know ask them to see their social media. Um, you can do this without being intrusive or secretive. I always like to say be collaborative with your teen. It's really important to compromise when you can. Like I said before, our teens need to feel like they have some power and control over their lives. So we need to remember to, when we're setting boundaries, allow room for negotiation. So you're okay with everything that's offered because you've started, at a safe distance away from, from the complete stop, right? So like with a curfew, first say give, if you're thinking midnight is the boundary, start with 10 o'clock. Give your teen some negotiating power. And then practical prevention strategies. Just remember, lock or track alcohol and medications, and teens notice if limits are real. Um, with things that are with safety, when things are, involve safety, danger, health, that's where you can say, hey, listen, we negotiate and compromise on most things, but when it comes to health and safety, you know my word is going to be the final word. um, have a code word with your teen that they can text if they need an immediate, like, no questions asked ride home from a party. Make a hamburger symbol their son. So if somebody's looking at their phone, they don't, get ratted out for being the one that needs to leave. We want to help we want to help our teens save face, but make sure they're safe. Um, Discuss exit strategies for unsafe parties or relationships. Model decision making out loud. I'm driving, so I'm not drinking. Or that just doesn't feel safe to me. These little conversations add up to big protective influence. Sometimes, even with great connection and habits, a teen may still struggle. Here's a simple action map. Let's think of it in terms of a red light. So green meaning teen typical ups and downs, and you can use strategies that we've discussed. If you are concerned, if you're on yellow, that's a little concerning. Maybe you've noticed ongoing sadness, worry, anger, or withdrawal for 2 or more weeks. Then you might want to call your pediatrician or let your teen know that it might be time to reach out to a school counselor or consider a therapist. If you're feeling like you're in the red, if you hear your teen talk of suicide or self-harm or the inability to function, that's when to act quickly. Call 988, which is the suicide or crisis lifeline. Remove lethal means and seek urgent care or the ER. Remember, starting therapy is not failure. It's a protective step. Confidentiality doesn't mean secrecy. Teens still benefit from your support and involvement. And again, we're going to say it, progress, not perfection. We're going to end where we started. Perfection isn't the goal, showing up is. Your teen doesn't need a flawless parent. They just need a safe one. They need boundaries that feel fair and warmth that doesn't waver. They need to see you try. They need to see you repair when you make mistakes. And they need to see you keep caring. Parenting teens is complex, but remember, every small moment of connection, every realistic boundary, every reset matters. You can influence your teen's mental health in powerful, everyday ways. To leave you with something concrete, choose one small step to start with this week. Reflect on your parenting style. What is one gentle adjustment you could make that might create a healthier communication style this week? or try one new connection habit, maybe a check-in walk or a weekly coffee run. Revisit one boundary, maybe phone use at night or a curfew you can agree on. Take advantage of the resources at the end of this presentation, and remember that help is easier when you know where to look. And really, I just want to stress to you that it is no farther away than Teen Health Connection. Thank you. I really appreciate you investing this time. Um, I always say when parents show up for an event like this, you're already 3 steps ahead. It shows your heart for your teens' well-being. Supporting behavioral health isn't about perfection, but about growing alongside them, balancing freedom and safety, and modeling resilience. I hope you're leaving with tools, perspective, and hope, and with the reminder that your presence is the most important thing, and it's really enough to make the biggest difference. Um, Join other parents in taking the pledge to educate teens about the risks of drug and alcohol misuse. And I think Miss Molly has actually put these links in the Q&A, so you can obtain the links that I'm just going over in the Q&A section. But encourage your teen to join the movement too, and have them take the pledge to stay free from alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs until it's legally safe and appropriate. And there's a link for them as well, and it would be a great conversation starter for you guys to do this together. And visit our website, teenhealthconnection.org, to subscribe to our newsletter and follow us on social media. There is a link to our newsletter in the Q&A, I believe. And then there's a link also to for you to access a curated resource guide that I've compiled for you. It includes helpful information from the training as well as resources to access if necessary. Again, always know that I'm a resource too. Parenting teens can be challenging on a good day. So don't hesitate to reach out with questions, and don't hesitate to reach out if you need to just process a situation or get validation or direction. If I don't know the answer to your question, I will definitely find somebody that does. And lastly, there's a link that Molly has put in the Q&A to a very brief survey. Your voice does matter. And by completing the really quick survey, it really takes less than 30 seconds. You're helping ensure that families continue to benefit from free, high-quality parenting support. Thanks again for letting me be with you today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, Chris and Teen Health Connections, for such a valuable session supporting your teens' behavioral health. Families, we hope this was beneficial to you today, and this information is valuable as you move forward in conversations with your teens. Be on the lookout. We will have 3 more sessions with Teen Health Connection on our Teen Health Connections Tuesdays, and those will be taking place in the spring semester. We hope you're able to join us for future Lunch and Learns, and we hope everyone has a safe and wonderful Tuesday.